Impact 30, it has taken a lot to get to this moment in time, but we're really excited for it. And so as we move forward, let me see if I actually click it. Did I click it? Yes. I want to introduce you to the team because it requires so much teamwork to make the dream work. And so P4H Global has teamed up with a couple of amazing organizations and individuals who are spread out all across the country. And so Epic Mission, Dot Solutions, and Unscripted Life, we are resources now inside of Impact 30 to help nonprofits continue to amplify their impact. And so today, right now, is the result of hours of collaboration, and we're excited to share this final product with you. Actually, I would like to do names because that's important. So we have representing Dot Solutions, Sal and Josh. They are serving as attendees today. And then Epic Mission with Jeremy and Taylor. They are with us as panelists, along with Tonia from Unscripted Life. And of course, there's my face too. I had more hair back then. But we're excited. This is the team. And you'll get to see each team member interacting at different times throughout the trilogy of Impact 30. And just a quick thank you to our sponsor, our event sponsor with Epic Mission. Jeremy and Taylor, thank you for making this dream come true with P4H Global and all, the rest of the team. We really appreciate it and couldn't do it without you. And then last thing, kind of some forecasting for the future. The Impact 30 has 3 pieces. And so right now you're in session 1, and we're going to be talking about mission refinement. Session 2 is going to cover program refinement, and session 3 is relationship refinement. I'll make sure that I send you all these dates that are important, but you see one is in February, and then the March one is still to be determined because we're figuring out what best works for us and y'all, because it's very cooperative. We want to be a resource that's accessible, and we'll need some help figuring out how to do that best. But with that, I think we can go ahead and get started with the main goodness of today. So good afternoon, and I want to introduce our speakers joining us today. We have Tonia Lyon and Jeremy Turner. So good afternoon. I'd love to go ahead and get started. Would you two tell us a brief bio about yourselves and your work? And I'd love to start with you, Tonia, if you would.
Thanks so much, Cam, Taylor, Jeremy, everybody. It's so good to be here with you all. Quick bio for me. I am currently teaching and coaching and enjoying life as best we can during this COVID season. I've had many previous lives as well. I spent almost 8 years on staff at Elevation Church, leading our outreach ministries as an outreach pastor. And then before that, I was a TV news anchor at WBTV and also in Houston, Texas, and in Spokane, Washington. And I love my life now, and I love being able to share how you can love your life right where you are, no matter how what season your children are in, or no matter what season your business is in, you can really love your life right now. So I'm excited to talk about that today.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tonia. How about you, Jeremy? Oh, I can't hear you, Jeremy.
Jeremy, you're not muted, but somehow we can't hear you.
Is it the ghost?
There we go. How about that?
There you are.
Hey,
I'm back. All right. So firstly, thank you for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity to be here and to be with everybody. So like everyone on the call, I wear many hats too. I'm a son, I'm a brother. 2 of my favorite titles are husband and father. I'm the founder of Epic Mission, which provides coaching and consulting services to heroes of change all over the place, just like you all. I'm an executive residence within the College of Business at Marshall University, where I also work as an adjunct instructor of entrepreneurship. I'm an Airbnb host. I'm a regular human being. And I feel like, through time, I've learned things and continue to learn things. And it's really my mission to get out and share these things with others in hopes that you all can be the change that you wish to see in the world.
that's wonderful, Jeremy. And I think that does unite all of the people in the room, the Zoom room, that is, because we're looking to create meaningful change. And I saw a lot of the names that I recognize in our attendees list. I know that what you're doing is meaningful and powerful. And sometimes these Impact 30 will help people pick their heads up from maybe the grind and say like, okay, let me take an assessment of the land and make sure that I'm moving in the direction that I want to, which kind of pushes us towards today's theme. Today's theme is all about mission refinement with this tagline of fearless and focused. So let's talk about that. Whoever wants to go first, Jeremy or Tonia, why is mission refinement relevant today? And what have you seen in your own line of work?
Tonia, please.
Well, I would say that there's no better time than right now to be the best person you can be, right? The best leader you can be. And I really come at this from a heart standpoint. And so one of the things that I think is really important in this season is to let go of some of the things that we've been holding on to and grasping onto. Remember how often we would hear people say things like, oh, I can't wait until we get back to pre-COVID times.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, right? We're not going back. We have to figure out how to move forward, and embracing a beginner's mind is how I think we can really do that. You give yourself permission to dream again. What was it you loved about what you're doing right now? Get back to those things. Let go of the burden of opinions and arguments about who's right and who's wrong. Wow, that would solve a lot of problems in our country these days. Let go of needing to have the right answers. Let's get back to focusing on your one big thing right now and do the work. This is, I think, the key, and the thing that I love to lead my clients in is do the work of getting clear again on your personal and professional values. I think we often think that we already know what they are and we're already operating in them, but I believe it's important to revisit these things really regularly because they change over time. Get really clear on your personal and professional values. And I have a small business client that I think he thought he knew, and all of his staff knew their values and where they were going. But when we actually sat down and did the work of going through those values, what we realized was one of his top values is humor. And he wondered why lately being at work wasn't fun. Well, it was because he wasn't living out his value of humor, or other people in the office didn't appreciate his humor. So they started moving forward with understanding, hey, I like to have fun. And if this can't be a fun place, then well, then maybe this isn't the right place for you. So getting clear on your values and having a beginner's mind. I have this cute little booklet that a second grader made in one of my PE classes. Okay. Remember when we used to say things like the Lord is amazing and heaven is awesome, and sing songs like Amazing Grace. Okay. So I show this to you because it's really simple and it's really beautiful. And sometimes I forget that the most beautiful, most powerful things are also really simple.
Yeah.
Just remember that the Lord loves you. And then move forward in the mission he's given you. And even if you made a bunch of mistakes last week, because I know I did, if you're still alive, if you're still kicking, then it means you've still accepted and you've got permission to keep moving forward. So really glad to be in this group of people that I know believes a lot of those same things, that we are loved and that we can move forward, and that the world is ours to love and change and to show up, just keep growing up.
That's so
up,
good.
right?
Yeah, that's so true. And even because everything you're talking about, Tonia, like values are the foundation of your mission, right? And so we've gotten so I'll speak personally, like I feel like I've gotten foggy in what my mission is because of the COVID pandemic and how it's really unsettled a lot of things. And so it feels like there's fog in the atmosphere. Absolutely. And I have this propensity to run really fast, but honestly, fog means slow down. Like assess what's around you and get back to the values that are driving your mission. Yeah. And that they're simple too. Like my mission is love. It is this. And then you kind of fill it out from there too. Absolutely. Thanks for that, Tonia. Jeremy, how about you, sir?
Well, that was amazing. I think our job here is done. You know, we can all go. Thank you, Tonia. So I think, in reflecting on 2020, I found that, for myself and for many that I've seen out in the community, none of us predicted what was going to happen, right? We couldn't have. And so it caught us flat-footed, and many of us overextended, where we were trying to do too much, right? We had become the jack of all trades, and the master of none, and we lost our focus, right? And so we've been forced to rather step back and reevaluate out of necessity, because with lessened or still limited resources, we don't have what we used to have. And this is natural expansion and contraction that occurs in nature. And so, here we have it. We have this opportunity to pull back and say, what's the purest form of what it is I'm supposed to do? And let me focus on that, rather than trying to perpetuate 10 programs and services and expand even further.
Right.
How about I look around the community and see what others are doing, and maybe where the deficits are, the gaps, and seek to fill those gaps in collaboration with others who are out there doing great works as well, so that we can all be intensely focused, because the focus will cut through the fog.
Yeah. And that's so good, Jeremy. And I think I'm intimidated. So this idea of fearless and focused is a natural pairing that we want to get to. What would it take to become fearless? You've talked about like some strategies, and we'll dive into those strategies for focus. But how can we address the fear that might be in the hearts of nonprofit leaders and workers?
So as I think about that, and as I've been marinating on that question, I thought, so if you had the cure for cancer, would you fearlessly go forth and share it with everyone you possibly could?
Well,
there are lots of cancers in our world, and I find that many of us don't feel terribly confident about the impact that we're making, about the cure that we have for whatever it is, whatever ill it is we're trying to address. And so if we can get very clear and very confident in what it is that we're seeking to do, and the solution that we're offering, then we can have that confidence go forward and share that. We can be fearless, right?
Yeah.
Because we're focused. I think they play on one another. And so it's this concept of distillation, or distillation rather, which is about simplicity and focus. And Einstein believed that there was great genius in simplicity. And he was pretty smart, had far better hair than me. So, I'll follow his lead. And when it comes to focus, there's an analogy I share a lot. So if on the call, if you've heard the bucket analogy, bear with me, you're going to hear it one more time. But when it comes to focus, if you have a bucket of water and you take that bucket of water and you splash it on a wall, it doesn't do anything. It makes the wall wet, the water will dry, everything goes back to how things were before. However, if you take that same water, same amount, same chemical composition, and you focus it very tightly, you can cut a hole through steel and brick and create permanent change, right? So imagine for a moment, what if your mission were very tightly focused, so that you knew exactly the impact you were making, and therefore you could be very confident in what it is that you're doing. You could fearlessly go out and share the focus that you have and the cure that you're seeking to offer.
Wow. Yeah, and I love that, because I'm imagining this wall to be a barrier, like something we need to get through. And so the splashing of a bucket, that's not going to do nothing. But when we have this focus, it drills through it. It moves through it. How do we get there? I'd love to hear your thoughts, Jeremy and Tonia, of like, what is mission refinement? How do we focus what we do?
Well, I think from a heart standpoint, Cam, I think it's really important to embrace your history, right? You get really, really curious about where you've been, how you got here, and where you are right now, because our past has something to teach us. And I know that for so many of us who have had difficult pasts, we would like to cut those things off like it was an arm or a leg, and not really, but we want to cut it off and get rid of it. But there are joys and traumas stored in our bodies, and we need to remind ourselves that everything belongs, and this is a part of who I am.
Wow.
So noticing where we have struggles, finding out what's causing the fear, really getting to the bottom of those things, Am I afraid of success? Am I afraid of failure? Why is that there? Not just pretending like it's not there, but noticing that resistance, getting to the bottom of it, and really understanding where it's coming from. Because what we find most of the time is that that fear is like something that happened when I was a kid. And I'm a grown up now, and I have fought a lot of battles. I have become very resilient. I am successful, and I'm talking to you. I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about you. You're successful. You've come a long way. And some of the fears that you had as a kid are still holding you back. So to become fearless, we don't cut off our fears. We recognize them. We hold them up to the light of God's love for us. And then we understand how to move forward and work with them rather than pushing them away. Tap into the resilience and strength that's already there.
Wow.
Understand those fears and then move forward. So many of us as nonprofit leaders, right? We turn our misery into our ministry. That's what we do. However, sometimes we still bring our fear along with us. And man, you fought some battles. You're tougher than you used to be. So it's time to let go of some of those old habits that still have been holding us back and move forward in strength. And I think that's what we can do when we really know where it's coming from.
Yeah. And Tonia, you're so right. And you're a wonderful coach, and you help so many people do exactly that. And you're talking on a different level too. It's deeper, because you're so much bringing the art of nonprofit work. And I'm loving that, and how our past does have something to teach us. So we need to embrace our history.
Yeah.
It's tricky. It's tricky business.
Yes, it can be painful in the process, but I think what we're learning is this truth that can feel troubling is actually where our superpower is, right?
Wow.
It's really where the good stuff is when we learn to embrace our histories.
And that's so mission refining. Like when you're able to move there, it's going to refine your mission so much harder, sharper.
Yeah.
Jeremy, how about you?
So I love that, something that bubbled up in my mind is that even broken crayons can create beautiful pictures.
Hey.
So, embracing the traumas that you've survived because you're a survivor. As far as, thinking about the mission refinement piece, we learn in Matthew 7:24 about building on solid ground, right? And so as you're looking at your organization, your program, your service, consider what solid ground can you build upon. And from a practitioner standpoint, from an innovation entrepreneurship standpoint, that has to do with business models. And you may not be familiar with that phrasing, so I'm gonna break this down for you pretty quickly. But a business model is the DNA or the core essence of your organization. For profit, nonprofit, doesn't matter. Every organization has a business model, either by design or by default. So what I'm encouraging you to is to consider how might you design your business model, truly understand what is the core essence of what you do, and so that you can create something that achieves intentional impact and has a sustainability factor built in. Because if you're doing something amazing, which you are, we don't want you to be a flash in the pan. We need you to be here. There are people that are counting on you to stay here and continue to go deeper in your impact. And so there's this 4 cornerstones piece that I like to talk about, because if you have 4 cornerstones, you've got a really, really solid base upon which to build. And from a business model standpoint, from a DNA level of your organization standpoint, those 4 cornerstones are as follows. You've got every organization out there, for profit or nonprofit, solves a problem. So what is the core problem that you're trying to solve? Not the symptom, not the outline issue, but the underlying causation. What are you trying to solve out there? And do you truly understand what that problem is? How well do you understand it? Are you insanely curious about understanding that problem? And are you in love with solving that problem?
Wow.
Because if you're not, any distraction will do, right? If this were easy, everybody would do it. So fall in love with the problem, and that will help drive you towards creating a solution, which is cornerstone number 2. What's the solution you're trying to offer? Is it novel in some fashion, or is it just like what everybody else is doing? from a funding standpoint, if you're trying to do what everyone else is doing, you won't stand out. You won't be that purple cow, and it won't really matter. You're doing, and plus you're stepping on somebody else's toes. So look for a novel way to solve a problem, to maybe solve it differently or solve it more deeply, solve it permanently. Consider who it is that you're trying to solve the problem for. Who are these people? This, in entrepreneurial terms, this is called your market and your early adopters. But who is it that you want to serve and why? Why does this matter to you as an individual and as an organization? Talking about value system. Why do you value these folks? What difference does it make if you serve these people? How will the world change as a result? So understanding the people that you're trying to serve, the problem that they have and that you want to address, the novel solution that you're seeking to offer, and then the money piece, right? In nonprofit, and especially in Christian nonprofit, we have an issue with money. We want to remain meek and meager and push money away and say, keep that stuff away from me. It's evil. And it's not that money is evil. It's when we worship money as a false prophet that money becomes evil, right? Wow. It's not the money, it's how we use it. So understanding your value system around money is terribly important. But as far as the money piece goes, think about how will you generate revenue, both contributed and earned revenue, if you have that ability, and what can you create a sustainable model to generate revenue so you have some stability, so that you can build a predictable budget and plan accordingly for the days, weeks, months, and years ahead. So people, problem, solution, money, 4 cornerstones of your business model and the 4 cornerstones of your organization and any program or service that you seek to offer.
Wow. That's phenomenal. I feel like that's tactical, practical, and maniacal, honestly. Like this is how we're going to solve the complex issues facing our communities that we love. And Jeremy, you've done a good job of putting it, you've personalized it. If we can fall in love with the problem and solving the problem, then that's really going to be what fuels the mission. And I think this process of refinement is a process of making small changes towards where we want to be, and just like a jeweler refines a diamond, he's not at his level of work, he's not like taking big swings at the thing. It is microns different that he's doing. And so I think that allows me to think, what's the word, charitably about the process that I'm in. Like, I'm not where I want to be as a nonprofit leader right now. There are still things that I'm really learning and growing, but this idea of refining my mission, seeing that the product of mission refinement is becoming fearless and focused, impactful. And I love that. Wow.
Remember that gradual adjustments create permanent change. Don't try and do it overnight.
You're full of these really good one-liners, sir. I like that. That's really good.
Write them down.
That's great.
Thankfully, we're recording. And that makes me think of a note to all of our attendees. We will find a way to get you access to this recording. And I believe that we'll be sending out some handouts as well to kind of the 4 cornerstone grid. We'll make sure that that's accessible to you so you can use it as a resource in the future. As we are nearing our 30-minute mark, it really has flown by. How do you recommend moving forward? Maybe like if you could give a one-line next step, what is the next right thing for our attendees? What would you say, Tonia?
Next right thing to do, be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. So the big idea there is to embrace your humanity. I think so many of us work really hard and try to do all the things ourselves. And we have 5 basic needs, right? Food, clean air and water, clothing, shelter, and sleep. And 2020 really changed our rhythms, brought us home to work, brought us face to face with our greatest anxieties and fears, brought us face to face with our spouses and our children. But listen, sleeplessness has been on the rise. We're spending more time on our computers, et cetera. You know all these things, okay? But here's what we need. We need sustainable rhythms. We need more sunlight. We need our friends and we need to take care of ourselves. Okay, so what does that look like? Develop rhythms that work for you and spiritual practices that work for you. So whether that's gratitude practice or prayer or mindfulness, what's a stretch for you? For me, solitude is a stretch because I love people and I want to be around people all the time, but I can't grow if I'm around people all the time. So solitude is a stress for me. Build solitude into your rhythm, or stillness or silence. And if you're an introvert and you're loving COVID because you don't have to go to church and you don't have to be with people, a stretch for you is to spend some time in community.
Wow.
I'm going to just drop the mic right there.
Yeah,
Your
come
turn,
on.
Jeremy.
That's so good. And it sounds like you've been so informed by Ruth Haley Barton's idea of spiritual rhythms, which is not just Ruth, but many other philosophers of old. But I love this. Spiritual rhythms, powerful things, sometimes difficult to implement. I love it. Be kind to yourself. Jeremy?
Empathy. That's my one word answer. And let me dig into that a little bit more. So
Please.
Empathy, not sympathy. Empathy is the practical and very intentional practice of seeking to see and feel the world around you as others see and feel it. Recognize that others have feelings and emotions, communicating that understanding and staying out of judgment when you do it. You know, we seek to serve other people, and too often we can find ourselves sort of lording over them and saying, I know best, I know what you need. And we never asked. We never sought to truly understand. So paired with the fall in love with the problem piece is fall in love with those you're serving and those you're serving with, and practice in very intentional empathy to truly understand their wants and their needs and their pains and their fears, so that you can be well informed as you seek to design solutions that truly make an impact. And then there are some tools and practices from the world of innovation and entrepreneurship that can help you practice intentional empathy. Things like empathy mapping and empathy interviews and doing historical reviews and surveys and such. So there's different practices, but without the intentionality of being very focused on empathy, the rest of it doesn't matter.
Wow. That's so good. If our mission isn't grounded in empathy, we got questions on what we're actually doing here. And as nonprofits, it's easy. It might be assumed that we're in it for the good, like we're trying to do we're trying to do good. But I think what I want Impact 30 to be is a place where we learn to do good better. And so this idea of mission refinement, program refinement, and relationship refinement, those themes for our sessions, are going to really add value to our nonprofit leaders. And so with that, we got less than a minute left. So we'll wind it down officially, so we can say that we're doing the 30-minute thing. But I know I could at least talk for 26 more hours about mission refinement. And I told myself to keep cool and just stick to 30 minutes, so I will. We'll be sending all you attendees a follow-up email with the contact information of our speakers today, an opportunity to register for our next session, which is Monday, February 22nd at 12 noon Eastern, and then some handouts that our speakers are preparing, so you'll have that access to that as well. And this is the official ending of Impact 30, but we're going to move into after hours because it's always a great place to be for about 15 minutes of Q&A, where we'll open it up to all the attendees, and I'll see what I can do from this session. For those who are saying adios, thank you for coming. Really appreciate it. For those who are remaining, please, if you have questions, ask them. I'll see if I know how to use this machine. Yeah, thank you, Taylor. You can ask questions on the chat.
I keep my eye on the chat to see if there's any questions that come through.
Cool. Brenda, great question. Jamie, I believe this one will be for you. What is empathy mapping? What does that look like?
Yeah, so empathy mapping is the use of a tool where you think about the archetype of someone that you're trying to serve, and you begin to think about what are they thinking and what are they feeling, and or what are they not thinking? What are they not feeling relative to a particular situation? So, for example, if you're operating within the homeless sector, you might consider who is someone that may be representative of the homeless population that you're seeking to serve, and then think about what do they, as they go about their average day, what are they hearing or what aren't they hearing? What are they seeing? What aren't they seeing?
Wow.
What are the pains that they're seeking to avoid or alleviate or remove? And what are the gains or the positive outcomes that they're seeking to achieve every day? It forces you to very purposely put yourself in their shoes and see the world through their eyes. And then you put those things on paper using this empathy map. You can Google that. I've got a copy I can send. It's not proprietary in any fashion. But what you do after that is, as you're using this tool, you're guessing. You're saying, I think this is what they think, or I think this is what they might feel. And then you can leverage some other methods to go back and test and validate and confirm or make adjustments by having an interview with someone, or observing them in their natural habitat and taking note of what you see, or and making adjustments. So the empathy map is a tool that will evolve over time as you learn new things and as you seek to confirm.
That's excellent. And Brenda, feel free to chime in if you wanted to add anything to that. And I love the personalization of that, because it's so easy to move into the 30,000 foot view and here are all of my data points. But when you have a name like Lawrence, who is a homeless man in Gainesville, and you're trying to think of his lived experience, that's going to be a very powerful tool to help you in your program development, as well as your mission refinement in your relationships. Great question. I saw Alexandria asked a question. Thank you for it. Are there visual practices that help narrow down mission and refining when with your team?
Yeah, I can speak to that if I understand the question properly. So when I'm with teams, I do values work. And we take a look at a list of values with really specific descriptions, because like I said, I think most of us kind of know what our values are, but until you see like 100 of them on a piece of paper, you might not really know what your top 6 are. And so we do this as a group, and they look at their values both personally, and then we compare them to what your company's values or your nonprofit's values are. And what's so wonderful, most of the time what happens is there's this beautiful crossover. People end up coming, of course, to your organization because even though they might not know all their exact values, they came to your organization because you embody those and you're already living those out in your communities. And so it's this beautiful reminder that, oh yeah, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be for most people. So yeah, we go through those together. We put them up on a whiteboard, and then we talk about how to live those out in the organization. If we want people to feel like trust is one of our highest values, for instance, what does it feel like when people walk through our building? How do we help them feel like we can be trusted? And so we kind of walk through those things. So I hope that answers your question. I'm sure, Jeremy, you've got an answer for that too.
Yeah, and I invited Josh Warrett to be a panelist to answer one of the future questions. So Jeremy, please continue.
Cool. Yeah, so this goes back to the business modeling practice, and there are all sorts of visual tools, worksheets, maps that you can use to map out the elements of your business model, which how these work typically is it's a worksheet, and there are 7, 9, 15 different boxes. And each box represents a different element of your organization and how you seek to go forward and do what it is that you do. And what you do with these is you put down your hypotheses, your guesses, because this is kind of like working through the scientific method. You're building a variable, building an equation, and seeking to control variables and test. So you're seeing the different elements of your business, your ministry, your organization, and you get to see how they interact with one another. And you can go forward and test each one of these hypotheses, the problem that you're solving. You can test to see, is that really a problem, or is it just a problem for you, right? Wow. And as you can map these things out on a one-page map, which keeps things super simple, you can see maybe where you're trying to do too much. You take really, really complex organizations like Amazon and Facebook and Google. If they can fit their stuff on one page, you should be able to as well.
Wow. That's a really good point. Thank you both for that. That's wonderful. Alexandria, if you have any further questions, please let us know in the chat. To jump to Kimberly's question, can you give a brief explanation of each of the organizations that are here? Of course. What a great question. Tonia, would you kick us off and talk about what you do, and then we'll move to Epic, and then Josh, you'll hit Dot Solutions, and then I'll finish it with P4H.
Sure. My company is called Unscripted Life, and I am a life coach. I do one-to-one coaching and also group coaching and also couples coaching. I love to work with nonprofits and small businesses, and I love working one-on-one with organization leaders as well. Yeah, I do a lot of other stuff too, but that's my business hat. And I love working with Dot Solutions as well. So I'm one of the coaches with Dot.
Awesome. Jeremy, to you, sir.
Okay, so Epic Mission is a coaching and consulting firm for what we call the heroes of change. These are people, individuals, organizations, both for-profit and nonprofit, that are out there going at it every day, trying to be the change that they wish to see in the world. So we meet these folks where they are, let them know they're not alone, provide a message of hope, and then bring about really practical and holistic processes and systems to help move them forward to an envisioned future. And our specialty really is, in a nutshell, we're troubleshooters. We'll come in and kind of tear things apart and figure it out and put it back together. But strategy, sustainable innovation, and capacity building, those are our jams, and that's where we live most of the time. And kind of there's a lot of different things that fall into those categories, but in a nutshell, that's what we do. We work with organizations all over the place for entrepreneurs, nonprofits, small businesses.
That's awesome. Thanks, Jeremy. Josh, welcome. Would you tell us more about Dot Solutions?
Hey guys, so Dot Solutions, really what we're all about is providing very simple tools, very collaborative tools, and tools that allow teams to focus on, really it comes down to building meaningful relationships with those that make the work that you do possible at the end of the day. And that really comes down to major donors in a lot of ways, a very visible process and environment to build those relationships in a meaningful, intentional way. And so to keep it really simple, we've built a very simple, easy to use software platform that helps you do that. There's a lot of different software tools out there. The difference for us is, we aren't software people, we're nonprofit people that saw a huge need. There's a lot of very complex, very complicated and overpriced software in a lot of ways. So we are really here to simplify software, deliver the key things that you really need to focus on, which is building relationships and keeping your team involved in that process, especially with most nonprofits in the U.S. Staying under $1 million in revenue, you don't have the manpower to service these massive software systems. So everybody plays some role in development with most nonprofits. So we're really there to build an ecosystem to let you focus on your development efforts, track those goals and all that stuff. So that's kind of the high level version of what we do.
That's awesome, Josh. And for the three of you that just spoke, it is difficult to synthesize everything into a quick one-liner or two-liner, but I'll give my best shot for P4H Global as well. We are all about redefining aid. Oftentimes, historical models of aid have left developing communities or low-income communities worse off than when they started. And so we got our start in Haiti working after the earthquake, and we recognized we can help people. And then we went and we tried to help people and we didn't. And so now we recognize it is capacity building that needs to happen. That is actual aid development. And so we're trying to shift people's mindsets, heart sets, and tool sets for doing the good work that development actually is. And so with that, we offer teacher training and school quality assurance down in Haiti. And then now we're kind of broadening out to do nonprofit teaching and coaching as well. So we offer a masterclass program, we offer some coaching, and then we also take impact trips to Haiti to understand sustainable development from an experiential standpoint. that's usually when COVID's not a thing. So we have adapted since then. But yeah, thank you so much for that question, Kimberly. I really appreciate it. Yeah. Anything else question-wise, my friends? All right.
We did get, I know you mentioned it, we did get a question about the recording. So yeah, make sure we get that out to everybody. I saw that question come in. I just want to make sure we note that.
Yeah, that's really good, Josh. I think what Taylor and I decided logistically that's going to be the best, we'll upload this to a Google, P4H's Google, and Google Drive. It's not just our Google, our Google Drive, and give you all the link to watch it and reference
Perfect.
it in the future.
Perfect.
Yeah. So I feel like we're landing this plane. It's taken a lot of hours to prep for this 45-minute set, and I'm really thankful for each of our panelists, and especially to all of our attendees. Thank you for trusting us with some of your time. It is a very precious commodity, and we're honored that you would spend it with us. So if there's any way that we can connect with you attendees, let us know, and we want to be there for you. We're in your corner fiercely, and we want to amplify your impact to do good better. So with that, we can say sayonara. We appreciate you all. Thank you for coming.
Go get it, y'all.